When my husband said, "I invited my ex to your brother's wedding. She's basically family. If you trust me, you'll get it." I smiled sweetly and agreed. Then I called her husband to be my +1. The rehearsal dinner became unforgettable. What Elijah didn't realize when he made that announcement at Sunday dinner, right between my mother passing the roasted potatoes and my father pouring his third glass of wine, was that I'd already discovered the truth. My brother Adam's fork stopped halfway to his mouth. My future sister-in-law, Claire, kicked me under the table hard enough to bruise. "Hannah? Your ex-girlfriend Hannah?" Adam asked slowly, his voice carrying that protective edge I remembered from our childhood. "To my wedding?" "She's basically family," Elijah explained to my stunned parents, sawing through his chicken like he hadn't just hijacked their dining room. "You remember how close we all were back in the day?" Nobody remembered because it had never happened. I watched my husband construct this elaborate fiction while my family sat frozen, and I heard myself say with perfect calm, "Of course, honey. I completely understand." What Elijah didn't know was that I'd already saved Isaac Bennett's number in my phone, Hannah's actual husband, the real estate developer who had no idea his wife was planning to spend my brother's wedding weekend with her affair partner. The discovery had been accidental. Saturday morning, I'd been searching for a yoga studio in Tribeca when Hannah Bennett's Instagram appeared in my suggestions. The same Hannah who'd supposedly moved to Seattle 3 years ago for some tech startup opportunity, except her recent posts were all geotagged in Manhattan. Brunches in Soho, morning runs in Central Park, and most importantly, a wedding photo from 2 years ago with a tall, broad-shouldered man named Isaac Bennett, captioned, "2 years with my forever person." My mother recovered first, though her smile looked painted on. "Hannah, I'm not sure I remember her." "Of course you do," Elijah interrupted, reaching for more green beans. "She helped organize that charity auction for the library." My mother had never organized a charity auction. She volunteered at the library's book sales, but nothing fancy enough to need professional organizing. Yet she nodded slowly, too polite to contradict him in front of everyone. "Such a sweet girl," Elijah continued, building his fiction brick by brick. "She's been dying to see everyone again. Since she's back in town for business, the timing is perfect." Claire squeezed my knee harder under the table. She'd been my friend before dating Adam, knew our entire history. She understood that Hannah had been gone from Elijah's life long before he met me. Ancient history, he'd called it during our early dating days, barely worth mentioning. My father cleared his throat. "Well, if she's important to you both?" "She is," Elijah said firmly, finally looking directly at me. His eyes held something I'd never seen before, not quite a challenge, but a test. "Right, Esther?" The correct answer was no. The correct response was to ask why he was inviting his ex-girlfriend to my brother's wedding without discussing it with me first. The correct move was to point out how inappropriate this entire conversation had become. Instead, I smiled and passed him the butter dish. "Whatever makes you happy, sweetheart." Adam set down his fork completely. "I don't remember meeting any Hannah." "You were probably away at college," Elijah said smoothly. Too smoothly. He'd prepared for this conversation, rehearsed these responses. "She was around a lot during that time." This was fascinating in its audacity. Adam had gone to Columbia barely 40 minutes away. He'd been home every other weekend eating these same Sunday dinners. If Hannah had been around a lot, he would have met her. We all knew it, but Elijah kept building his elaborate lie. "She knows all the family stories," he said, laughing at some private memory. "Remember that time at the shore house? 4th of July weekend?" We didn't have a shore house. We'd rented one once, 5 years ago, long after Hannah would have exited his life. But my parents exchanged glances, trying to recall a memory that didn't exist, while their son-in-law gaslighted our entire family over pot roast. What Elijah had no way of knowing was that I wasn't just his trusting wife who managed our household while he handled the finances. I was Esther Blackwood, senior financial analyst at Clearwater and Associates, with a master's degree in forensic accounting from NYU. I'd spent the last 8 years investigating corporate fraud, following money trails, and exposing elaborate deception schemes for Fortune 500 companies. My annual salary of $180,000 meant I had resources Elijah couldn't imagine. My professional network included private investigators, forensic accountants, and some of the most aggressive divorce attorneys in Manhattan. Most importantly, my specialized training had taught me to document everything meticulously and follow every digital breadcrumb until I found the truth. The morning after discovering Hannah's Instagram, I'd done what I always did when investigating fraud. I'd built a comprehensive timeline. Hannah Bennett, marketing director at Silverton Creative, had never actually left New York. Her LinkedIn showed consistent employment at the same company for 3 years. Her credit card statements, which took me exactly 40 minutes to access through professional databases, showed regular charges at restaurants and hotels throughout the city. But the real smoking gun was her gym membership, the same boutique fitness studio where Elijah had suddenly started his health kick 6 months ago, the one 6 blocks from our apartment that he'd claimed was convenient for work meetings. I'd cross-referenced their check-ins through the studio's member portal, Tuesday and Thursday mornings, like clockwork. The same schedule Elijah had been maintaining religiously, the one that had mysteriously improved his physique and mood while producing 0 actual gym stories or workout soreness. Then there were the credit card charges on our joint account. Charges I'd been too trusting to question before, but which now formed a clear pattern. Expensive dinners for 2 when he claimed to be at client meetings. Hotel charges in Boston when he'd supposedly attended a conference there, except Hannah's Instagram showed her at the exact same hotel that weekend posting about a much-needed girls' retreat. The jewelry purchases were what sealed it. A $2,400 charge at Tiffany 3 weeks ago. Our anniversary wasn't for 6 months, and nothing had appeared in my jewelry box. But Hannah's recent photos showed her wearing a delicate pearl necklace that matched the receipt I'd found buried in Elijah's wallet. As a forensic accountant, I'd seen this pattern dozens of times in corporate investigations. The systematic deception, the parallel digital lives, the calculated manipulation of truth. What made this different was that instead of embezzling from shareholders, my husband was embezzling from our marriage. After dinner, Adam cornered me in the kitchen by the dishwasher. "What's going on, Esther? I've never met this woman. Mom and Dad have never met her. Why is Elijah acting like she's some longtime family friend?" I focused on scraping plates, avoiding his eyes. "Maybe you just don't remember." "Stop." He grabbed my wrist gently. "This is me. Tell me what's happening." Claire appeared in the doorway, standing guard. Through the dining room, I could hear Elijah laughing at something my father said. The sound made my skin crawl. "I can't," I whispered. "Not yet. Just trust me, okay? And act normal about Hannah coming to the wedding." Adam's face went through several expressions before landing on concern. "Esther, please." "I'm handling it." He wanted to argue. I could see it. My baby brother, who'd protected me from playground bullies and vetted my boyfriends, who'd interrogated Elijah thoroughly before approving of our marriage. But something in my face made him step back. "If you need anything." "I know." The ride home was silent except for Elijah humming along to jazz on the radio. His hand rested on my thigh, possessive and familiar. 4 years of marriage reduced to this performance, both of us pretending everything was fine while secrets multiplied between us like cancer cells. At a red light, he squeezed my knee. "Thank you for being so understanding about Hannah. I knew you would be. You're not the jealous type." Not jealous, as if betrayal was about jealousy rather than respect, as if inviting your ex-girlfriend to a family wedding was normal behavior for committed couples. "When did she get back to New York?" I asked, keeping my voice casual. "A few months ago, maybe." His hand tightened slightly on my leg. "I haven't kept close track." Another lie. Her Instagram showed she'd never left. The yoga studio she'd tagged yesterday was 6 blocks from our apartment. The wine bar she'd posted from last week was where we'd gone on our 3rd date. Back in our apartment, Elijah disappeared into the shower while I stood at our 10th floor window, city lights blinking below like coded messages. Somewhere out there, Hannah Bennett was probably planning what to wear to my brother's wedding, completely unaware that her husband existed in my phone as a potential ally. Isaac Bennett's business website showed Bennett Properties as a successful commercial real estate firm with offices in Manhattan and Brooklyn. His professional headshot revealed tired eyes that suggested he worked too much, but also the kind of sharp intelligence you didn't want to underestimate. His company's recent press releases mentioned several high-profile deals, including a $50 million office complex in Long Island City. More importantly, his conference schedule was publicly available through the company's newsletter. Boston Real Estate Summit, March 15 to 17, the exact dates of Elijah's supposed emergency investor meeting in Boston. The same weekend, Hannah had posted about her girls' retreat. I created a new email account and spent 2 hours crafting the perfect message. Too much information would sound crazy. Too little would be dismissive. Finally, I settled on, "Your wife is attending my brother's wedding as my husband's guest. I think we should compare notes." I hit send at, then stared at my phone for the next hour, wondering if I'd just made the biggest mistake of my life or the smartest move I'd ever executed. The response came at, "I've been suspicious for months. Let's meet." We arranged to meet at a Starbucks in the financial district the following Monday. I arrived 15 minutes early, claiming a corner table where I could watch the door while reviewing the evidence folder I'd compiled over the weekend. Isaac Bennett walked in at exactly 10 a.m., and I recognized him instantly from his photos. But what struck me was how he moved, careful and deliberate, like someone who'd learned not to trust the ground beneath his feet. He spotted me immediately, probably recognizing the same shell-shocked expression in my eyes. "Esther?" His voice was deeper than I'd expected, rougher around the edges. I nodded, gesturing to the chair across from me. He sat down heavily, pulling a manila envelope from his messenger bag before even ordering coffee. "I brought receipts. 6 months' worth." He slid papers across the table, credit card statements with highlighted charges, hotel bills, restaurant receipts. My hands shook slightly as I examined the first one. The Ritz-Carlton, Miami, Valentine's Day weekend, a charge for $3,200 that included couples, massage, champagne service, and late checkout. "Hannah said it was a work incentive trip," Isaac explained, his voice flat. "Top performers at her company, except I called her company. They don't do incentive trips, haven't in 3 years due to budget cuts." The next receipt was from 11 Madison Park. $400 for dinner for 2, the same night Elijah had claimed to be entertaining clients from Tokyo. Except Hannah had posted about date night with just a heart emoji that same evening. "This was their anniversary dinner," Isaac said, pointing to the date. "The anniversary of when they first started dating in college. She celebrates it every year. Used to drag me to some fancy place, but this year she said she was working late." I pulled out my phone, showing him my own evidence folder. Elijah's calendar has fake meetings with the Davidson Group every Tuesday and Thursday. I called Davidson's assistant. Those meetings never existed. Isaac laughed, a harsh, broken sound. "Hannah has him saved in her phone as Pilates instructor. Found that out when her actual Pilates instructor called about a scheduling change, and I got confused. We spent the next hour creating a timeline on coffee shop napkins, mapping out the elaborate choreography of deception. Every business trip aligned with a conference. Every late night matched a work emergency. Every weekend apart had been carefully orchestrated to give them time together while keeping their spouses ignorant. "The wedding," Isaac said suddenly, staring at our makeshift timeline. "Your brother's wedding. They're planning something." I nodded, sipping espresso that had gone cold. "Elijah's been obsessing over the seating arrangements, wants Hannah at the family table with the best view. He even offered to pay for her hotel room. said it was his wedding gift to Adam and Claire. Hannah bought a $3,000 dress from Bergdorf's, told me it was for her company gala, but I checked. There's no gala scheduled. We sat in silence for a moment, surrounded by the morning rush of the financial district. Two strangers united by the implosion of our marriages, both of us professionals who'd built our careers on analyzing patterns and exposing deception, yet we'd missed the fraud happening in our own homes. "What do you want to do?" Isaac asked finally. "What do you mean?" We could confront them privately, pack their stuff, change the locks, serve papers, clean and simple. I thought about it. The civilized route, the mature response, the path that would minimize drama and preserve dignity. Then I remembered Elijah at my parents' dinner table, lying to my family's faces, recruiting them into his deception with calculated precision. "Or," I prompted. Isaac leaned back, a ghost of a smile crossing his face. "Or we could give them exactly what they want. A wedding together, just not the way they planned it." "You mean, come as my +1? They walk in expecting their secret rendezvous and instead find us together. Public accountability, no room for denial or gaslighting. The idea was insane, petty, potentially explosive. It was also perfect. They'd be completely blindsided, exposed in front of my entire family, their lies revealed with witnesses who could never pretend they hadn't seen the truth. "They'd be trapped," I said slowly, warming to the concept. No escape route, no way to spin the narrative, just the brutal mathematics of consequences meeting actions. We ordered another round of coffee, real coffee this time, not props for our devastating conversation, and refined the plan. Isaac would arrive separately after Elijah and Hannah were already there, giving them time to get comfortable before dropping the bomb. Perfect timing for maximum impact. "Are you sure about this?" Isaac asked as we prepared to leave. "Once we do this, there's no going back. Our marriages are over." "They're already over," I replied, surprised by my own certainty. "We're just the last ones to know." That evening, I sat in my car outside our apartment building for a full hour, watching shadows move behind our 10th floor windows. Elijah was home from work, probably making dinner, playing the devoted husband while texting Hannah about their upcoming weekend escape. My phone rang, Isaac's name on the screen. "I'm sitting outside my house," he said without greeting. "Hannah's inside making dinner, acting completely normal. She kissed me when I got home like she hadn't spent Valentine's Day in Miami with your husband." "Are we really doing this?" I heard him exhale slowly. "I keep thinking maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's an explanation. Maybe we're misreading everything." "The receipts don't lie, Isaac." "No," he agreed quietly. "They don't." We stayed on the phone, two people sitting in separate cars, watching the windows of our fraudulent lives, drawing strength from shared devastation. The loneliness of living with deception was worse than the prospect of actual solitude. At least alone, I'd have my dignity, my truth, my self-respect. "Saturday's rehearsal dinner," I said. "Lou Bernardin at 7 p.m. I'll be there to give them time to get comfortable." "Isaac, what if we're making a huge mistake?" His laugh was soft, almost gentle. "Then at least it'll be our mistake, not theirs." The week that followed transformed me from trusting wife into strategic operative. Wednesday, Elijah brought home flowers, peonies, soft pink peonies from the expensive florist on Madison Avenue, the kind that costs $30 per stem. He'd forgotten my birthday last year, but suddenly, 3 days before his planned weekend with Hannah, he remembered my favorite flower. "Saw them and thought of you," he said, kissing my cheek while I arranged them in water. His lips felt like a brand, marking me as the fool who didn't know. Thursday brought guilt cooking, chicken piccata, my favorite, the dish he'd made on our third date when I knew I was falling for him. He wore an apron I hadn't seen in 2 years, humming off-key while perfectly plating capers and herbs, each gesture an attempt to balance some internal scale of deception. Friday morning, everything accelerated. I was making breakfast when Elijah emerged in his best casual outfit, the jeans that made him look 10 years younger, the polo that brought out his eyes. "I'm picking up Hannah from the airport this afternoon," he announced, pouring coffee like this was normal conversation. "Her flight gets in at 3 p.m. It's on my way from the office." The airport was 40 minutes in the opposite direction from his office, but I just smiled. "That's nice of you." "Well, she doesn't know the city anymore." Another lie. According to her Instagram, she'd been at a wine bar in Soho just last night. "I'll probably show her around a bit. Help her get settled at her hotel." He spent 20 minutes styling his hair, something he hadn't done since our dating days. Applied cologne in 3 places, wrists, neck, and chest. I watched from the doorway as he checked himself in the mirror, adjusting and readjusting his collar like a teenager preparing for prom. After he left, I went shopping. Not browsing, hunting. I needed armor for Saturday night, something that would make me feel powerful when my world exploded. The third store had it. An emerald green dress that hugged without clinging, sophisticated with an edge of danger. The color matched the earrings Elijah had given me on our first anniversary, back when his gifts were still meant for me. Saturday arrived with the kind of bright, cloudless sky that seemed to mock the storm brewing inside me. I spent the morning in my hotel room at the Waldorf Astoria, applying makeup like war paint, foundation smooth as armor, eyeliner sharp as weapons. My hands stayed steady despite the earthquake in my chest. I zipped up the emerald dress, the fabric transforming me into someone I barely recognized. Someone powerful, dangerous, ready. My phone buzzed with Isaac's message. "In position in the lobby. Hannah just posted an Instagram story from her Uber. She's wearing the Versace." "Elijah left 10 minutes ago to get her," I replied. "See you on the other side." Lou Bernardine's private dining room glowed with soft light and fresh flowers. My parents were already there, arranging place cards with obsessive attention to detail. My mother looked up, her face brightening. "Darling, you look stunning. That dress." "Thanks, Mom." I picked up Hannah's place card, noting its position at the family table, exactly where Elijah had orchestrated it. Everything's perfect. Guests started arriving at cousins from Boston, my father's business partners, Claire's extended family from Connecticut. I made small talk about tomorrow's weather forecast, about anything except the bomb about to explode in this beautiful room. My phone vibrated. Isaac. "They just walked in together. His hand is on her back. They're laughing," I typed back with steady fingers. "Incoming." The door opened. Elijah walked in first, his face glowing with the particular happiness of a man who thought he was getting away with everything. Behind him, Hannah in her Versace dress, blonde hair cascading over bare shoulders, looking exactly like the kind of woman men destroyed marriages for. They moved through the room like a couple, her hand brushing his arm, him guiding her with subtle touches that anyone watching would recognize as intimate. My mother noticed. I saw her face shift from welcome to confusion. My father's eyes narrowed. Adam stood slowly from his seat. Elijah brought Hannah straight to me, probably thinking he'd get the introduction over quickly, neutralize any awkwardness with his charm and confidence. He had no idea he was walking into his own execution. "Darling," he said, leaning in to kiss my cheek while Hannah watched with barely concealed satisfaction. "This is Hannah. Hannah, my wife, Esther." "So lovely to finally meet you," Hannah purred, extending a manicured hand. "Elijah's told me so much about you." I took her hand, noting the pearl bracelet that completed the set with Elijah's purchased earrings. "Has he? How interesting, since he's told me almost nothing about you." The door opened again. Isaac walked in like he owned the room, 6'3" in a charcoal suit that made him look like a man who'd come to collect a debt. He paused in the doorway, scanning the room with deliberate slowness, letting everyone see him before he moved. The conversations near the entrance died first, then spread through the room like a wave as heads turned to track the stranger's progress. "Sorry I'm late," he said, his voice cutting through the sudden quiet. Traffic was murder. The champagne glass slipped from Hannah's hand. Crystal shattered against marble with a sound like breaking bells, golden liquid splashing across her Versace dress and designer shoes. The entire room froze, watching champagne spread between tables like spilled secrets. "Isaac." Hannah's voice came out strangled, barely above a whisper. Her face had gone the color of old paper. Elijah jumped up so fast his chair screeched against the floor. "You weren't invited. This is a private event." "Actually," I said, standing slowly, smoothing my emerald dress with deliberate calm, "he's my +1. Isaac Honey. Come sit. You're right next to me." The word honey landed like a grenade. My mother's hand flew to her throat. Adam's mouth fell open. Claire pulled out her phone, and I saw the red recording light appear. "What's going on?" my father demanded, his voice carrying the authority of someone who'd built a business from nothing and didn't tolerate nonsense. Isaac walked through the wreckage of the champagne glass, his shoes crunching on crystal shards. "What's going on is that my wife and your son-in-law have been having an affair for at least 6 months. He pulled out his phone, swiping through screens with practiced efficiency. Should I start with the Miami trip she said was a work incentive, or the Boston conference where they shared a room at the Marriott Copley Place? We didn't, Hannah stammered, trying to stand, but her heel caught in her wet dress hem. "Save it," Isaac said, his voice flat and terrible. "I have receipts, credit card statements, text messages where you saved his number as Pilates instructor. Really, Hannah? Pilates?" My mother stood up, her face a masterpiece of controlled fury. "Is this true? Have you been carrying on with this woman while married to my daughter?" Elijah tried his charm one more time, spreading his hands in a gesture of innocence. This is all being blown out of proportion. Hannah needed support during a difficult time. I was being a friend. "A friend doesn't buy lingerie," Isaac said quietly, and the room went completely silent. $800 at La Perla. I found the receipt in her jewelry box, hidden under the earrings you bought her. Hannah made a sound like a wounded animal. "Isaac, please, let's discuss this privately." "Privately?" Isaac laughed, harsh and bitter. "Like your private discussions with him? Your private trips? Your private hotel rooms? No, I think public is perfect. All these people should know what kind of woman is attending this wedding." My father stood up slowly, deliberately, like a judge preparing to deliver a verdict. "Elijah, Hannah, you need to leave. Now." "But," Elijah started. "Now," my father's voice brooked no argument, "before I have hotel security escort you out." They left in fury, Hannah's Versace dress swishing, Elijah's shoulders rigid with humiliation. The door closed behind them with a soft click that sounded like the end of everything. The room stayed frozen for another heartbeat. Then Uncle Richard started slow clapping. Aunt Margaret joined. Soon half the room was applauding, while the other half sat in stunned silence. Adam stood and raised his glass. "Well, this is definitely going to be a wedding weekend nobody forgets. Here's to my sister, who just gave us a story that'll last generations." 6 months later, I sat in my newly redecorated apartment, completely free of Elijah's presence, reviewing divorce papers that had cost him everything. The forensic accountant I'd hired had uncovered $85,000 in misappropriated marital funds, all traced directly to his affair with Hannah. Between alimony, asset division, and legal fees, Elijah had moved to a studio apartment in Queens and taken a job selling insurance. Hannah's marketing firm had quietly let her go after the scandal reached their biggest clients. Isaac had posted a strategic timeline on social media that went viral, complete with receipts and screenshots. Her professional reputation was destroyed in the most connected city in the world. As for me, I'd been promoted to senior partner at Clearwater and Associates, partly due to my flawless handling of a complex personal investigation. My salary had increased to $240,000, and I'd bought a corner office apartment with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park. David, the chef I'd been dating for 3 months, texted from his restaurant. "Closing soon. Saved you the last piece of chocolate cake. Also, I smell like garlic and fish stock, so you'll know exactly where I've been." I laughed, genuine and free. This was what honest love looked like. Unglamorous, verifiable, and somehow more romantic than any elaborate lie. The Mont Blanc pen Elijah had given me sat on my coffee table, a reminder that sometimes the best gifts come from the worst people, and sometimes endings written with expensive pens lead to better beginnings written in simple truth.